Hi everyone, I'm Ben Coleman, CEO of Performa IT, and today I'm joined by our marketing manager here at Performa IT to talk about AI.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Tovey. Today we're going to be answering some questions from customers and prospects on Agentforce, which is Salesforce's brand new AI innovation. So as a marketeer, I've been exploring AI for much of my career, but I've sort of been blown away by what Salesforce is now capable of in the current wave of technology in terms of Agentforce. I've got some questions here from users and customers around how Agentforce can help make their lives easier. So firstly, how will Agentforce help me get faster customer service?
So Agentforce can instantly access your Salesforce customer data and also knowledge bases to provide immediate responses to common questions in a conversational style. So that's going to reduce wait times. It's going to free up human agents to be able to work on more complex tasks or more value-add tasks.
And as a customer interacting with an agent, will the AI understand my specific requests?
Yes, Agentforce has the ability to analyse past interactions. It can look at customer data, it can look at knowledge bases and get the context to understand queries accurately. And then it can provide personalised responses based on the specific situational scenario. And this is powered by the Atlas reasoning engine, which provides a breakdown of the reasoning behind the decisions as well. So you can have the peace of mind as a business to understand the reasoning behind the decisions that it's actually made. And that really basically means that the system is working within guardrails that you put in place. And this is one of the really important features of the Salesforce AI Trust Layer.
Even complex problems?
Yes. So the exciting thing about Agentforce is that the assistants have the power to be flexible. So they can take action, but only within the parameters or the guardrails that you allow, much like the model used for giving humans user permissions within Salesforce. So they're designed to recognise issues outside of their scope and then smoothly transfer the human being, the customer, the prospect who's actually interacting with that bot over to an actual real human agent, but seamlessly. And that human will have all of the context, all the understanding, we'll be able to see the whole conversation right up until that point where they actually got transferred.
So this is an important one. Can I trust the AI's response?
Yes. The AI is designed and built with built-in safeguards to provide accurate information, just like I mentioned. So when it's unsure, it will seamlessly transfer to a human agent. And the aptly named Einstein Trust Layer, which I touched on just a moment ago, that ensures that there is zero data retention, and it's got inbuilt toxicity detection, so it will pick up on malicious prompts. So somebody asks it to do something that it shouldn't be doing, or perhaps address them in a manner that they shouldn't, it will actually detect that. And that's really kind of like just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to security. All the responses are based on approved company knowledge and policies, but of course the AI is only as good as the data that you put into it. So you do need to be mindful of what data and content you're actually providing it, because if you put something in there that you wouldn't want to be shared, but you fed that to the agent, then it could potentially do that. So a good example is knowledge articles in Salesforce. You may want to actually flag them as internal facing or external, and then you could put some guardrails into the agent to say it's only allowed to reference external facing articles and not internal ones. There's just an example of things you might want to look for.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we all hear a lot of scaremongering about AI taking our jobs, myself included in my profession. But how does Agentforce help human customer service agents?
So Agentforce assists agents by suggesting responses. It can automate routine tasks, and it can also provide relevant customer information and solution recommendations, but all in real time. So this technology is not designed to replace people. It was created to reduce menial tasks and really collaborate with humans to unlock further capacity for growth or efficiency within a business. Humans are complicated, and it's going to be a long time before we can replace them with technology, in my personal opinion. I think really the general approach for AI is that it should augment humans and help them be efficient and deliver great performance, whether that's in sales or customer service or within marketing. So it's that augmenting and helping and assisting rather than completely replacing. And I think that's really beneficial for us as humans, because nobody likes, there's a lot of elements of different jobs out there which people don't like, repetitive, boring tasks. So if we can actually have an agent do that for us, actually it's going to make our jobs more interesting, more fulfilling, more satisfying. And I think for a business that's going to mean happier, more engaged employees who are then going to want to deliver better performance and service. So I think it's going to be a good thing.
And that's true of our clients, right, that are looking at Agentforce. They're not looking to replace or get rid of any staff. They're just looking to make their jobs better so they can perform better. That's
right, yeah. And get them to do more value-add tasks or deploy them to do other things within the business. So,
yeah, definitely. Do you think, though, that this runs the risk of making customer service feel impersonal?
No, I don't think it does. AI actually enables more personalization by instantly analyzing customer data, history, preferences, and so on, so that it can actually provide tailored responses and solutions. So that's more personal than kind of generic responses.
Yeah.
And I think this just means that the agents are far more conversational than your traditional chatbot. And if you look at some of the examples of demonstrations, certainly I go to a lot of events at the moment. AI is the hot topic. You're constantly seeing demonstrations of things. And I think the technology it's so good now that, for example, I've watched a webinar and I've also watched some podcasts with AI generated hosts. So two people, which are completely fictitious, and they are having a natural conversation like you or I would. They're laughing and joking with each other. They're cracking jokes. The interaction between them, it's completely, if you weren't told that was completely faked, you really wouldn't know it. And then also if you look at some of the examples of voice, obviously we know that Einstein Voice is coming very soon to Salesforce. We're all super excited about that. I've seen some of the demos of that. Again, it's amazing. It's just completely fluid. It's like having a conversation with another human being.
Yep.
So I think that's really exciting. So I think that's going to mean that it's not going to feel impersonal. But I do think it's important that businesses should be candid about their use of AI with their customers. And I think customers are still going to trust you so long as you're providing top tier service. They're not going to mind whether it's talking to a human or not. And I guess that's the thing. So long as you've equipped your agent with the right skills to be able to solve those problems for customers, and they do have the ability to reach out to a human if they feel like they're not getting what they want. But I think if you're doing that, then people are going to be very happy. I don't see why that would be a negative, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's a lot of buzz around enterprises using this kind of technology to manage cases and generate new business. But how does this benefit mid-market businesses and SMEs specifically?
Sure. I think one benefit is that the solution can provide 24/7 customer service and also business development without having to have a really large sales team or support team. But whilst also actually ensuring that you know get the consistent quality and delivery and faster response times. So you know obviously that's the nice thing about the agents. You know, they don't get tired, they don't have bad days, they don't need to sleep. You know, they can just keep going. And I think that you know, so long as you've got some really you know valuable use cases that are well thought out and well implemented, then you know absolutely, I think that you know they do provide a lot of value for money. And I think they're also going to help the smaller businesses compete with the larger businesses as well, without having to hire you know the same manpower. Of course, you know larger businesses are also going to adopt it as well. But I do feel like you know if you look at Salesforce, it's leveling the playing field. It's allowing you know that you can get access to these technologies. Um, Obviously, you know there are many more than Salesforce, but you know particularly within that CRM space, sales, marketing, customer service, smaller and medium-sized businesses using that technology, it will allow them to compete with much larger businesses. And in some regards, you know, when I think, you know, being a small, medium-sized business, you've got more agility than a larger business. And so therefore, you know, it may well be easier for you to adopt a new technology, you know, have kind of less change management effort required to do that. So I think that's a real positive. If I think about some examples, so we recently implemented a solution for a mid-sized business where AI was helping them to qualify leads in huge volumes, and you know that made significant savings for them, and it was also doing a job that you know humans didn't really enjoy doing either. Another good example is a recruitment business that had huge volumes of applications, and AI has helped them to qualify those applications and kind of sift them much quicker. You know, so I think as long as there's a good use case, you can get value from it. And I think the other thing is that's you know kind of leveling the playing field is in terms of if you look at the way that the pricing is going at the moment, it's all tends to be consumption based. So I think that model is going to really appeal to smaller businesses because you know they're not going to have to pay because it's based on consumption and the interaction. Obviously, if they're at a smaller scale, it's not going to cost them as much as a larger business. So I think that's a real pro. You know, so I think it's worth small, medium enterprises definitely having a look at this.
Yeah, certainly. And I suppose if you don't have tens of thousands of employees, you don't have that crazy volume of data that you then need to work on for a long time to condense and to get it right because the agents are only as good as the data.
Yeah.
I suppose you were mentioning a level playing field. That really does benefit a smaller business and a mid-sized business as well, because even being enterprise, they're picking up really quickly these new AI technologies to stay ahead of the game, but they're doing a lot of work in the background as well.
Yeah, that's right. And some of the early adopters, you know, some of the larger businesses that, you know, they've maybe, you know, come a cropper where they've sort of, you know, done a lot of work with one particular LLM, you know, large language model, and they've done a lot of development on that. And then actually that LLM that they've done lots of work on has suddenly become deprecated and there's a new one coming in. And so then, you know, all of that work that they've done, they've got to do it again. They're kind of starting from scratch. So I think obviously people are now aware of that issue. But again, that just means that some of the large, you know, really large organisations are not maybe quite as far ahead as people might think, because they're experiencing the pain of the bleeding edge and learning those lessons, and so it's now is probably, you know, a good time where a lot of those, you know, people are aware of those things, and you can make sure that you don't fall into those traps. Salesforce is a good example there of, if you actually look at how that works and the LLMs that they're using and are available that you can pick from. They've got some fantastic information on the website as well. So if you go to the Salesforce website, they actually continually monitor those LLMs, and they're kind of ranking them and scoring them and saying that this one's best for consistency, best for speed, best for conversations, best for questions. So that's fantastic that they're doing that, and I think there's a lot of great information that you can find very easily now, and everybody's talking about AI. So
yep,
that's a great thing.
So on the topic of all the different use cases available, I think a lot of customers understand the service use cases for Agentforce, handling queries, scheduling appointments, doing returns, for example. But these agents can be hugely helpful to any department in the business, as we sort of touched on earlier. And with this in mind, how can Agentforce help with something like revenue generation in a business, for example?
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a lot of examples on service. So for me, there's a couple of use cases that really stand out within this function. So Agentforce can act as a BDR, business development representative. So it can work on qualifying leads is a great example that people are using it for. And it can also help with booking appointments for sales reps. So this kind of functionality is also supplemented by the ability to report on the agent as if it was a human. So you can set it targets, and you can also track the progress and the productivity against those KPIs. Another good use case is AI acting as a sales coach, which essentially augments the work that a sales manager would perform. So it's not, again, going back to what we were talking about before, it's never going to completely replace it, but it can definitely really help, and particularly I think some of the tools where it's providing real-time feedback. So we work with a partner at the moment who, with them, with the combination of Salesforce and that technology, we can actually provide that. So we've already got a client who is using that. So getting that kind of analysis of video and also the coaching on that. And so really by if we kind of go back to the fundamentals of so why are we doing this? So it's basically, if you use Agentforce in this way, then basically we can scale up. So don't quote me on this, but as an example, it could be that our 4-person human sales team, if they're augmented by AI and Agentforce, they can basically deliver results much faster. So they can handle more leads, they can qualify more leads, they can and essentially what we want to get to is closing deals faster and closing more deals. That's ultimately what we want to do if we think of sales, and Agentforce and AI can definitely help sales teams do that and become much more effective.
As a customer, what is the first thing I should be looking at if I want to create an agent?
So firstly, you need to identify what your potential use cases are in your business where an agent could be beneficial, and some good ways of kind of identifying what those are. For me, I think I would say you need to start looking at all of the processes and the tasks within your business and identify what are those tasks which are very repetitive, because really what we want to do is we want to kind of attack the low-hanging fruit first. So what's repetitive and what is being carried out at scale. So there's lots of volume of that process or that task being carried out within that business or within a department within a business. I think that reporting is very beneficial. So you can actually use your operational reporting systems, data warehouses, your Salesforce CRM, Tableau, for example. So you could use that to basically do some reports on those, to either identify what those high volume processing tasks are, or within those high volume processes and tasks, start to identify, what are those unique kind of scenarios or issues that you're dealing with. So for example, if we take Salesforce Service Cloud, you might want to start analysing cases and start looking at, so what are the reasons why cases are being generated, what are the requests that are coming in, typically what are the resolutions for those cases, what are the actions that we're actually taking. And so off the back of that, when you've kind of done that bit of work, what you then want to do is really kind of, you want to hone in on the sweet spot, which is going to be that high volume, so it's happening at scale, but also simplicity. And it's almost like you can use that as your way of prioritizing those use cases that you start to identify. So the more frequent it is and the easier it is to do, one could argue that those should be the things that you look at first, and you'll get to a point where it may not, there probably come a point where you've automated and you've used agents to carry out tasks to a degree where you say, actually, the investment in doing that doesn't stack up for the benefits. It's actually not really saving any more time now. And I think, just to kind of hone in on the Salesforce ecosystem, so one of the things that you can do within Salesforce is start to have a look at. So again, if we stick with Service Cloud as the example, so we've identified our use cases here. The next thing to do is have a look at, so for those use cases, have you already got any existing flows? So the flow is the automation tool within Salesforce, or do you have any Apex classes which automate the actions? Because those are the things that Agentforce needs. So if you've got a use case where you have identified that it's happening at scale, it's quite simple, and actually you've already got a flow or an Apex class that deals with the action of taking action to create the resolution for it, then that's kind of perfect, really, because that's going to be hopefully something which is relatively quick for you to be able to turn into an agent, so that the agent can deal with those queries. And then finally, everybody's probably sick of hearing this, but you've got to focus on data. So there is a reason why Salesforce have been encouraging people to take a look at Data Cloud. And that's not just a sales push, it's because it's going to make any AI agent much more effective and much more reliable. So it's, as people say, rubbish in, rubbish out. So data quality is key if you want the agent to actually make the right decisions, make the right suggestions, and give that great service. It needs good data to work on. It's kind of really, data is the fuel of AI, and so I'm a petrol head. So if I think about it, within petrol, you've got a RON rating of fuel, and the higher it is, the more go in your car, the more speed you get. And it's kind of the same with data quality. The higher the quality of that data, the more effective that the AI is going to be. I think, yes, Agentforce is an amazing technology, but it's only as good as that data that's actually powering it. And I think that because Data Cloud is called a cloud, I think people often are kind of associating it with a product, but really, if you look at Salesforce from a kind of very deeply sort of technical perspective, actually Data Cloud is really now becoming the foundation layer on which the whole Salesforce platform is built on, and in turn Agentforce can pull from, and Salesforce are transitioning to that architecture. The great news is now, if you purchase a Salesforce product, it's quite likely that it might have Data Cloud incorporated. So if we take Salesforce Foundations, the recent product as an example, And so what we're trying to do with clients now is basically help them with their Agentforce readiness by getting a data check-in. So we're helping analyze, look at the quality, see what they've got, and then obviously it depends on their use cases and what kind of information they need. It depends on companies' IT architecture. What's the lay of the land in terms of what technologies and systems they have, and then that will determine do they potentially need data cloud. There may be some use cases where data cloud isn't required, others where it is required. And then also, if you look at data cloud, you've got a lot of out-of-the-box connectors. So for lots of the really popular platforms, you may well find that, say, for example, you've got, Microsoft Dynamics, and you want to connect to that. Great, you can use something out of the box, but actually you've got a very strange legacy system, which is not so popular, and you need to connect to that. That might be an area where MuleSoft becomes relevant, because then you can use MuleSoft to kind of build those custom connectors. So yeah, it's those are some of the things that we help clients with. So we can basically look at everything that you've got. We can help you with identifying use cases. We can help you with prioritizing things, determining what the low-hanging fruit is. Look at what the ROI might be, what the savings are. And then also kind of helping you with what you might need in terms of technical products, and also areas where you may have some issues that you need to resolve. And then we can look at some of the tools. So obviously Data Cloud is a great tool because that can help with unifying and kind of building that quality data fuel for AI that you need.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to mention, that those data and Agentforce readiness consultations that we offer, they're completely complementary to anybody at the moment looking to get started with AI, with Agentforce, with Data Cloud even, where we just take stock of where you are, what you've got in terms of products, and we go from there and sort of create that roadmap for our clients.
Yeah, that's it. And I would really urge people to take us up on that. And that's not just coming from a sales perspective. Yeah. So there are some, as you can imagine, because Agentforce is the hot product for Salesforce. They're very keen for people to have it in their hands, in their businesses, and start demonstrating the value that it can provide. So at the moment, there are some incredible deals, and I really do mean deals like we've never seen before, available. So I would absolutely encourage anyone who's even got a thought of it to reach out to us, have a chat, take us up on that free consultation, and get involved with their account manager at Salesforce, because I think they'd be pleasantly surprised as to what they find, what offers are around. I can imagine that the period of some of these amazing deals that are available at the moment, I suspect that's probably only going to be around until the end of Salesforce's financial year. And I think then we'll move into next financial year. Probably the pricing won't be quite so attractive. I still think it's going to absolutely make sense in terms of the ROI, provided the right use cases. But what I'm saying is, at the moment, you could get an even better ROI just because of some of the incentives that are available. So definitely go and have a chat with us. We can explain a little bit more about what some of those things can mean, and we can also work with you and your Salesforce account executive to put together a really good use case and business case for you.
Yeah, and there's so much going on with Agentforce. There's so many events happening at the moment with the World Tour and sort of extra events that are more industry specific or business size specific. So it's really a good idea to go and look at what's out there on the Salesforce website and attend some of those events and get hands-on with the technology and see what it can really do.
Yeah, absolutely.